Travis Reier, the BamaOnline.com staff, following the media viewing periods at Tuesday's football practice at the University of Alabama. We are outside Coleman Coliseum, where right now it is actually picture perfect here on the University of Alabama campus. Clear skies out to the north and back to the northeast. Got a little bit of a breeze blowing here in the walkway just outside Coleman Coliseum. On the practice field, felt a little warm. So I'm sure the guys out there in full pads today might beg to differ with my assessment of the meteorological conditions here in West Central Alabama, but no rain, no precipitation. Kind of had that feeling earlier today that we might see some afternoon thunderstorms, but again, as of right now, and knowing things can change quickly here in this area of the United States, really nice out. Nice out. So Alabama back to work following its second scrimmage of spring drills. Again, full pads out there. From an injury standpoint, you had already heard from Saturday's scrimmage that Jedrick Wills, the junior right tackle, left that scrimmage with an ankle sprain. We did not see Jedrick on the practice field today. He was inside, it appeared, in the sort of weight room area, Jedrick Wills. So not expected to be overly severe. The bottom line is, what is today? Today's April 9th. An ankle sprain on April 9th you can deal with. So if it had to happen, any type of injury, you would rather it happen now, and the less severe, all the better, and that seems to be the case with Jedrick Wills at right tackle. Now, with Jedrick Wills out, that's where the experience and the versatility of Matt Womack comes into play. Matt Womack today on the practice field working alongside right guard Deonte Brown in the pairings that we saw out there. I didn't see much of a full five look from Kyle Flood and his guys in the little bit of time we were out there, but we did see pairings. And again, what we saw was Deonte Brown and Matt Womack to his outside. On the other side, you saw Alex Leatherwood and Emil Ekiyor at that left guard position. So that was sort of the look for the offensive line out there today with no Jedrick Wills. Otherwise, a team that looks to be in pretty good health. Now, Major Tennyson, one of the tight ends, has been limited of late. Charlie Potter noted after the viewing periods when we met that he didn't see Major Tennyson out there. We did see Kedrick James, though, going through drills with those tight ends. Cameron Latu, Miller Forrestall, Giles Amos, Michael Parker. So that was kind of your tight end group out there today. Saw a little bit of the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks look pretty good. Now, when we're out there, they're essentially throwing against air, but earlier in the spring, there were a few balls on the ground. At today's practice anyway, during the limited time we were out there, it looked like quarterback's pretty sharp, coming off a scrimmage in which apparently Mac Jones may have given the ball away a few times too many, as a matter of fact. So that's going to be a situation of interest on Saturday for the A-Day game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, how that quarterback situation looks once you get past Tua Tagovailoa. To this point, it's pretty much been Mac Jones. Talia has seen some reps with the twos as recent as this past Saturday. So there's still competition there, but Mac Jones asserted himself early. Again, maybe didn't have his best stretch of spring practice in scrimmage number 2 on Saturday. Defensively, that inside linebacker position continues to be intriguing, I guess you could say, concerning, I guess you could say, if you're an Alabama fan, in that Dylan Moses, obviously your top inside linebacker there. We continue to see Josh McMillan working alongside Dylan Moses. In that next pairing, what we continue to see is Markel Benton and also Shane Lee, the early enrollee. So that's the next group up. And then in the third pairing, what we see is Ali Cahoe and Jalen Moody, the two sophomores, classmates there at the inside linebacker position. Now, you heard some comments, I believe, from Nick Saban following the scrimmage. Wasn't entirely happy with the tackling. And so when we went out there today, I wasn't entirely surprised to see Sal Sunseri with his outside linebackers giving a tutorial, I guess you could say, in a nice way, what Sal was doing out there with those outside linebackers. Some of it was encouragement. Some of it was, don't spare the rod. So, that's just Sal doing his thing. But, again, it wasn't a surprise, again, considering what Nick Saban had to say about some of the sloppiness with which the Alabama defense, more so from a depth standpoint, maybe performed with on Saturday in that scrimmage. So there you go. Also in the secondary, maybe some things of interest. They were doing some split field stuff out there today, which is typically the case this time of year. And with that, you'll see the left side of the secondary, the right side of the secondary, but they incorporated some of the inside linebackers into that. And the 3 inside linebackers we saw in that work were Dylan Moses, Josh McMillan, and also Markel Benton. So those were the 3 inside linebackers working in the split field stuff. Saw Patrick Surtain working at the star position with Trayvon Diggs outside at corner. Your safeties about what you would expect with Jared Maiden and Xavier McKinney. Shy Carter in a black non-contact jersey working at the star position on the other side of the field. Jalen Armour Davis working at corner. Pretty much about what they've done throughout spring. If you guys have anything for me as we wrap up here today, I'd love to attempt to tackle it. Yeah, since tackling is the theme today. David is talking about tackling right now on the chat. David says it was a problem all of last year, and yards after contact, a big problem. Michael, we'll see with Shane Lee. He was a guy before spring I had kind of pinpointed as being that sort of early enrollee that could make a run at a role, a 2-deep role, just being, realistic. But man, with the way these young guys, and you heard it from Raekwon Davis today in the player interviews talking about DJ Dale, and he was asked specifically about DJ Dale, but he didn't have to compare him to Daron Payne unless he really felt like that's what he's seen from DJ Dale, and that's what Raekwon did. So, guys up front impacting things quicker than they did 5 or 6 years ago on the defensive side of the ball. And so Shane Lee at linebacker, with the way things sit right now, Pete Golding's been here a full year, I guess, maybe a little bit more. And he's been searching for that next inside linebacker. It was Mack Wilson and Dylan Moses last year, so you felt good about that. But beyond those two, he was searching all last year for that next inside linebacker, and he's continuing to search. And so I don't think anything's been finalized. And with that, Shane Lee, I do believe, is the kind of guy that can pick things up quickly. And if he does that, he certainly has a chance to compete there. What else do we have today, gang? Did you watch that game last night? Huh? Pretty good basketball game. Pretty good tournament. Well, other than Alabama not being in it. Justin, we just talked about Patrick Surtain, seeing him at Star some now this spring, so that's a little bit different. Not unusual for younger players, especially those being counted on to impact greatly in the secondary, to start out at one position and then kind of in the next year sort of slide into some other roles, although Minkah Fitzpatrick was certainly an exception to that rule. It seemed like from the time Minkah hit campus, he was playing about 5 different positions. But yeah, I think Surtain, that tells you that his comfort level is where you want it to be, when you can kind of try to start incorporating some other roles for him. David, I wrote about Nick Saban's comments in regards to players leaving early for the draft on the round table over the weekend. And, I think the bigger issue, and I know this all turned into a Nick Saban and Ronnie Harrison sort of issue, but the big problem in it all for me is the guys that have 6th, 7th round grades or undrafted free agent grades and leave school. That tells me a couple things. They're either getting some really, really bad advice, have some influencers in their lives that they don't need to have. And also, though, I think there's cases where guys reach a point, as crazy as it sounds to us, that they're done playing football, at this sort of level. In other words, if they're going to play football beyond where they're at now, they're going to get paid to do it. That, or they're just done. And I really believe that. I think in some guys' cases, it's more of someone else, having someone else tell them they're done. That's the only thing I can go back to. But, with Ronnie Harrison, I can go both ways with that sort of deal. If you're a 2nd or 3rd round pick, no, that's not optimum. That's not 1st round money. But it's not in that range where your career is in peril if you go in the 2nd or 3rd round. Ronnie Harrison went in the 3rd round to the Jacksonville Jaguars, pocketed somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 million in bonus and salary money as a rookie. It's not the 7, 8, whatever he could have made maybe as a 1st round pick. And the key word there's maybe. There was no guarantee with all that. So you know, I think Nick Saban was absolutely correct from a standpoint of decisions that are being made based on factors other than facts, real things, you know, tangible information. It's a real problem. But I also feel like if you're a Ronnie Harrison or, you know, one of those kind of guys and you get a second round grade, I don't think it's the end of the world if you go ahead and turn pro. Yeah, Bill, they work on a lot of nickel stuff, which is, you know, third down mostly. Now, nickel is, it's prevalent. You know, you got teams coming out 3 wide receivers on first down. So you could be in nickel, but as far as, you know, third down specific stuff, I can promise you no one reps it up as much as Alabama does. And I'm talking about in detail specifics. You've got 2 secondary coaches out there now full-time with Charles Kelly coming on board. You've got Nick Saban back there with those guys. You know, whatever the problem was in Santa Clara, and you got to give Clemson a lot of credit. I mean, they've got you talk about future first-round picks. They had multiples in their passing game, beginning with the quarterback, the wide receivers. But in terms of specifically the breakdowns against Clemson, you know, it was kind of the imperfect storm if you're an Alabama fan. You know, you had some things going on with your coaching staff. Your pass rush had been limited by the injury of Christian Miller, and flat out, you know, guys just didn't seem to be as locked in for that game as they needed to be. So, you know, I can tell you this, in terms of when we're out there on a daily basis, it doesn't seem as if any rock is not going, you know, unturned to look at what's going on. What else do we have? All right, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to get out of here. Susie checking in from Georgia, neighboring Georgia. And I'll let you guys continue to chat about that national championship debacle. Trey Sanders isn't here yet, Ty. He'll get here in the summer. Antonio Alfano physically looks great. Think he's still in the learning process in terms of how to play with your hands, how to play with technique. Not unlike pretty much every other defensive lineman that's come through here. There is a learning curve involved. Even with DJ Dale, what you hear mostly about him is just the power and the explosiveness. Now, the work ethic is apparently there too, so that's very good to hear. But there are still plenty of the perceived little things that have to be perfected before you can really be, you know, a force at that position. Because at this level, everybody's the same size, everybody's as athletic. You know, the disparity in talent goes away, so it becomes more about polish. And these guys have got to, you know, it's typical. That's what they're trying to close up on. All right, gang, we're going to get out of here. As always, we appreciate you joining us here on Instant Analysis. Charlie Potter with that practice report. You're going to find it at BamaOnline.com. I've got some practice video. It wasn't a great day when they practiced on that far field. We get what we can get, but we'll give you what we got at Bama Online coming up in just a little bit. Deion McMillan will have some photos for you. So, as always, BamaOnline.com, your source for news and updates on the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll do this again after Thursday's practice. We'll preview A-Day coming up following the media viewings on Thursday. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.